We're back with another video and welcome to the channel. I'm Irma and I'm going to teach you in this channel how to really get your best work done and how to do your best work. And that can be in any realm: remote work, how to be your best at remote work, finding engineering jobs, finding project manager jobs, design jobs, and how to succeed at those. So please make sure to subscribe if you're interested in any of those topics. So for this video, we're going to specifically talk about the highest paying jobs in remote work. So these are jobs that are location independent, distributed teams, so you don't have to necessarily, be at a desk in a physical office to get these jobs done. And I purposely chose this topic because I think as people start thinking about remote work and breaking into it, it's also important to understand what are those jobs that you can actually work remote as. So this really starts to allow you to think more about, am I, as person in X role, can I actually get a remote job, right? And that's the first step, is understanding and making sure that before you start searching for jobs, that you can actually find a role with what you're passionate about in the remote world. And to preface this, a lot of these jobs are technical jobs and they're in the tech space. And a lot of them are technical, a lot of them are not non-technical. So you don't necessarily have to have a technical background, but these are a lot of the jobs that are in the tech space specifically, because since it is software based, it is just easier to work remote because all your work can be done from a computer anywhere really where you have an internet connection, which is great. So let's get started with the first job that is the highest paying job. And these are all based on Flex Jobs survey that they did, and these are respondents that worked remote and reported on their salaries. So I'm going to be essentially just giving you guys that list, and all of these jobs will be linked in the description if you're interested in checking them out, or at least looking more into them if you're interested, and maybe it's right up your alley. So the first job that is out there that is the highest paying job is a senior iOS developer. And this one's coming in at a salary of about 130 to 160K. And I don't have any more information about benefits and things like that, but just think about that as a base range possibly. So developer jobs are probably the top paying jobs in remote work, and that's because every company needs a developer of some kind. So if you're interested in getting into coding or programming and you want to work remote, it's a really kind of good segue into remote work. The next job here that's the highest paying salary and underneath that developer job is a customer success engineer. And what these guys are doing, or ladies, are essentially making sure that the product and the software that they're working on is top quality, in a sense that customers are getting all of their questions answered. So we're making sure that the satisfaction and the customer experience, all of that is very much top of the line. So it's a very important job to make sure that you don't lose customers and you're essentially retaining as many customers as you can, but making sure that you provide documentation, answers, troubleshooting, support, etc., and really reporting any issues that you find to the engineering team to fix. And customer success engineers are coming in at about 100K in salary, so another great remote role. Up next, we have a user experience researcher, and their salary is coming in at a base of 100K to about 120. And this is a really, really awesome job. I've done it as part of my role slightly, but it is essentially a full person's role at a company, especially a software company. And what they're really out there to do is making sure that the experience that somebody's having on a product, whether it's a web app, an app on your phone, that whole experience from end to end is as easy and as seamless as possible. And it's a really important job because without them, you would have this app that wouldn't really function for a human, for a normal person from any background. So it's a very, very crucial job, and it all can be done digitally, which is why it's on this list. The next one is a senior business analyst. And a business analyst is pretty much somebody who is making sure that the requirements and the quality of a product is really intact. It's also very business focused. The salary for this job is about 57 to 90K. All right, this one up next, another one that's slightly technical, is a DevOps engineer. And a DevOps engineer is making roughly 80 to 100K as a remote employee. And they're really in charge of making sure that an app doesn't go down. If it does, really getting down into the nitty-gritty and figuring out why. To touch on sort of an admin job is that of a project manager. So there's a lot of project manager roles available for remote work. This function in the company is really to ensure that timelines are communicated across the company on when projects are getting delivered. It's a very important job because they have to allocate resources and they have to really keep an eye on things that are going to potentially become blockers for a company's project being delivered. And project managers are usually making around 60 to 105K. Another role that you might see a lot is that of product designer. And again, a role that doesn't have to be in a physical office. You can literally do it from your computer. You can do it because you can talk to folks across your company via your computer. And a product designer is really, focusing on the design of the product as a whole. And it's a really, really great job for anybody who has a super creative mind and really enjoys tailoring an experience for a user. This next job is pretty interesting because it's actually a medical job, right? And so you would think medical or healthcare roles have to be done at a hospital, but there is this one role here that I'm going to share with you that there's a number of open roles in the remote space for them. That role in specific is that of a speech language pathologist, and their estimated salary is around 80K. And how they do their job, it doesn't have to be physical, that's the traditional kind of way of this job being done. But speech pathologists can actually run their sessions with their clients virtually through virtual sessions. And nowadays there's a lot of different apps to support that sort of work in a way that's super, super accessible to, a pathologist working in the Midwest and then having a client in the West Coast. It doesn't have to be a physical office. It just really requires an internet connection and possibly a laptop or a desktop. And this last job that I'm going to touch on here is that of a recruiter. This can be either a general recruiter or it could be a technical recruiter. And both are super, super needed by companies of any size, whether you're a startup or a growing startup or a full-fledged company. Recruiters are really making sure that they're hiring the right people for the right job and ensuring that there's diversity and a lot of thought on culture and thought on bringing on the right people that are going to be a great fit for the team. Recruiters' estimated salary is around 50 to 75K, which is pretty awesome for a recruiter, and I'm sure that maybe there's some sort of commission worked in there as well for maybe recruiters that have been for a company for a number of years. And again, all these roles that I'm mentioning here are roles that can apply to you right now. Maybe you are already on your way or already in one of these roles. This is perfect for you to start thinking about if remote work is something that you're interested in, if you think it's something that it's gonna be a great fit for you. I would definitely start looking at different job sites and figuring out if you can apply to any of them, right? Because you already have the experience, it's a matter of just applying. Now, if you're watching and you maybe don't have any experience with any of these roles, but you're interested in working remote and you kind of don't really know what to do, you're not really happy in your job, I would just do some research. And this is a really great place to start, is looking at each of these roles and seeing if this is something that you're interested in doing. Because what you can do is actually find this role in your local town, start working there for about a year in this role, and then kind of, transition into remote work. And there are going to be, jobs out there for you. Again, this is a number of jobs that you can start to think about when it comes to remote work and roles that can be done in a remote work setting. Feel free to check any of these jobs out. They're really great jobs in the tech space or in the medical space, right? So I will leave a list of the jobs that I mentioned down below. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested in just keeping in touch and watching more of my future videos. I would really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I can definitely go ahead and answer them. I also have, my email in the description if you're interested in that too. So see you in the next one. Bye.